Hey everyone, welcome to That's Peculiar. I'm Nathan.
I'm Andra.
And Andra's got a great episode for you today. If you can hear, I don't know if you can tell, I'm kind of sick. Me and Ross are recovering from an upper respiratory infection, so I'm not going to be super rah-rah today. I'm going to do my best. And Andra's also not feeling the best either.
Yeah, figures.
So if we cough, sorry.
Yeah.
But I have a fun.
Pretend it's
So
not happening.
I have a couple fun tidbits. So this is actually our 16th episode that we're currently recording.
Wow.
I know. It's going to be the first episode of the new year of 2025. So happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
We have broken 200 streams total. I know. That's really exciting.
I think
Andra, so I have a question for you. How long can you hold your breath for?
Well, do you remember Mr. Smith? The psychology teacher? And
No, I never had him. No.
He timed me at like 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
That's pretty good. Okay, so a human, I think that's pretty average is 2.5 minutes. I'm nowhere near that currently. A dolphin can hold their breath for about 8 to 10 minutes. Some species can manage 15. Large whales, huge, they can hold their breath for over 90 minutes. But the average is around 30 to 60 minutes. And then the hippopotamus can hold their breath for around 5 minutes, but they can occasionally stretch that out to 8 minutes. Now, taking into that consideration, how long do you think a sloth can hold its breath for? Like, I'm talking the slow two-toed sloth.
They're not very large, and I feel like they don't expend a lot of energy, so I'm going to say, you said 80 minutes for the whale, so let's just go 120 minutes.
Oh my god, shoot for the moon.
Yeah.
40 minutes. They can hold their breath
40.
for about 40 minutes.
You said 80 for a whale, right?
I was just giving you some examples. I wasn't leading you to an answer.
I thought you were like, the sloth is the longest, so I was just like...
No, I didn't want to make it that easy. But they achieve it by slowing down their heart rate to about 1/3, which reduces the need for oxygen. But they sleep most of the day anyway. So good for sloths.
Yeah, they're so cute. I have a fun fact.
Okay.
Mine is only slightly more in tune with our episode, but yours is actually pretty on point as well. Just being about like the body. The Pope can't be an organ donor.
Why?
The Pope cannot be an organ donor because his body belongs to the whole church. And the tradition is that the Pope's body has to be burnt. Like,
interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, me either. Until today.
Makes sense, I guess. The Pope cannot be
a
donor.
Their body belongs to the church.
I'd rather them bury the Pope whole than break him up into, millions of pieces anyway. Could you imagine a Pope dying and then, like, any Catholic who's, like, in the database gets a piece of the Pope?
Yeah, I almost have no feeling about that. Like, that could happen.
For some reason, that, like, popped into my head. They just put him on in a ninja foodie and, like, puree and scoop out. I don't know. I don't know why I'm thinking about like this. I'm delirious.
Really sorry to anybody who's like, whoa, this took a dark turn. Happy New Year. So Happy New Year, everyone.
That's just, my brain went there. I don't know why.
Today we are recording on actual New Year's Day, but this will be released on what, the 4th?
I'm sorry?
It'll be released on the 4th, right?
I think. I don't know. Is that Friday?
I think.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know dates and times.
Shoot, today is Wednesday, so it would be the 3rd.
Yes.
We're all messed up.
I told you, I don't know dates and times.
Well, Are you ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's do it. What are we talking about?
Nathan has no idea what we're talking about.
I rarely have any idea.
Today I have something different.
Okay.
It's something I actually think you would like and would actually love researching, but I think it's different for me. I don't think this is a topic that, like, if you were like, would Andra cover this? I don't think it would be on your list. We're going to talk about bloodletting and leeching.
Well, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
I know. Do you find that fascinating?
Yeah.
I always thought that was weird. Oh, you feel sick? Let's just open a big wound.
Yeah, let's just cut you open and let you bleed.
Sure.
It is fascinating, and I obviously find it fascinating. It was like on my list of things I wanted to do. As we've gone through this process, I feel like I've been more superstitious and you're like realism. Yeah. Okay, so bloodletting, for anyone who doesn't know, is the removal of blood from a person's body with the intent by means of the process to manage disease and health conditions.
What?
Bloodletting.
I always wanted to know, like, what. I always feel like there was different things that they would use bloodletting for some specific diseases, and then leeching was for something else. Or could they cross?
They're a bit more intertwined than what you think. It's kind of bloodletting was. It's so strange because they kind of were like connected and happening at the same time. Mm-hmm. With the same means of measure. Like leeching is a different form of like bloodletting, essentially. In the process, it's just a little bit more controlled. So we'll get into both of them separately. First, we'll do bloodletting, and then we'll get into a little bit more of leeching. Okay. But just kind of understand they're a bit more connected because I thought they were completely separate as well. And they're different, but it's kind of connected. So okay. Bloodletting was often used for anything minor or major, like migraines, fevers, just like plagues. And this was essentially the first thing that they would usually try. Oh. So just think about you having a migraine.
I have a migraine. Just like, give me your arm.
Yeah. The doctor would open a vein with a lancet or sharpened piece of wood, causing blood to flow out into a waiting receptacle. If you got lucky, leeches might perform the gruesome task in place of the crude instruments. Bloodletting, as it traditionally is understood, is no longer safe to be practiced for treatment. It's only used for a few medical conditions. I just want to say that, like, if you have a migraine, please don't go cut your arm because you listen to this.
It's painful.
It's not safe.
Ouch. I feel like when they do, one of the things they still do for like bloodletting today would be like compartment syndrome or something, where if they don't release the pressure in the specific part of the body, like it could harm. So they have to like cut it open and let it release.
They do that. There's also a disease, and I don't think I put it in here, but I read about it. It's where the iron in your blood is too high. Mm-hmm. And the only way to release that is actually by letting out some of the blood.
So like blood donation would be a good...
it has a name. This health condition has a name. I don't even think I put it in here, but we'll see, because it actually might be in here.
Oh, okay, cool. We're just dying.
I'm so sorry. Bloodletting is thought to have originated in ancient Egypt, where it's likely to spread to Greece. So ancient Egypt to Greece, and then it continues on. The Greek physician Hippocrates believed in the theory. Yeah, thank you. I started saying that. Did you hear me? But it's the end part. I couldn't say it right now. It's just going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those days again, I guess. Believed in the theory of humors, which held the 4 fluids in the body. So it's blood, yellow bile, black bile, and phlegm.
Phlegm?
Phlegm.
PHLEGM?
Yes.
Phlegm. I also hate the word bile. That's like one of the worst words in the world. Moist, no problem. Bile?
I don't mind moist, but bile is just, it's disgusting. Yeah. So I didn't know about black bile.
No, I know yellow. I mean, I've thrown that up before because there was nothing in my stomach.
After a night of drinking.
No, I just woke up one morning and I was really nauseous and I was like, bleh, and there was nothing to throw up. It hurts. And it was just yellow bile.
Yeah.
Yummy.
Gross. We're going into it today. So these 4 fluids in the body were primarily responsible for a person's personality and health, according to the Greek physician.
Okay.
A healthy person would have 4 humors in balance, but an excess of yellow bile, for example, or one of the others, was an imbalance, causing a person to be short-tempered and angry and resulting in poor health.
You're kind of angry. Are your biles balanced?
Are you okay?
No, not your
biles. Do you have
biles.
too
Your
much
humors.
yellow bile? Yeah.
Your
Do you
humor.
have too
Your
much
humors.
yellow bile?
Your humors are unbalanced. Your aura's dirty.
So Erastus, who lived in 3rd century BC, believed that an illness stemmed from an overabundance of blood is the reason for like a lot of this stuff. So he's the first to think that.
Too much blood, so we gotta let it out.
Just a thought here. This same guy believed veins transported air, not blood. Which I'm like, okay, but he thought you let it out. Did he just think he was letting out air?
But it's blood.
Yeah.
It's not air.
Yeah. So bloodletting grew.
I'm so glad we live in the 21st century. I can't.
I know. I think about some of this stuff and I'm like, bloodletting grew in popularity in the 2nd century when Glenn, the dominant medical voice in Rome at the time, determined that blood was the most important humor. The practice of bloodletting soon spread across Europe and Asia. In Europe, bloodletting became the standard treatment for various conditions, from plague and smallpox to epilepsy and gout. Practitioners typically nicked veins or arteries in the forearm or neck, sometimes using a special tool featuring a fixed blade known as a fleam.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
They just nick a vein or an artery. No big deal. You're just bleeding out.
Just like forearm or neck. This fact here blew my mind. Barbers began offering a range of services that included bloodletting, cupping, tooth extractions, lancing, and even amputations.
Ew.
Along with, of course, trims and shaves.
That's so gross. The
present-day barber shop poles originates from this practice.
Yes!
With the red, white, and blue colors symbolizing bloodletting, tooth extraction, and shaving services, respectfully.
That's so... I gotta go to the barber, my tooth hurt.
Can you imagine being like, I need you to let blood out of me. Can you also give me a haircut?
While we're bloodletting, I would also like a close shave. Thank you.
Maybe just like don't do the neck today because I need a shave.
I'll hold my wrist out here while you do my face.
And it's just wild. Jack's brother, Trevor, is a barber. And like, I just could not imagine being like, Trevor, can you pull my tooth and cut my hair?
Please.
And bloodlet.
Thank you.
You know, I have an infection in my tooth, so let's just pull that, bloodlet me, and then shave my head. So wild. The most common method of bloodletting was cutting into a vein, as we said, typically at the forearm or elbow. Cupping is another approach, involved scraping the skin and then placing a cup over the scraped skin. Applying heat or suction to the cup created a vacuum that allowed blood to be drawn out. Leeches were continued to be used as well.
I was wondering how cupping was working, because I know massage cupping.
Yeah.
When they just pull the skin up and it's supposed to help like release toxins,
Which it does kind of pull like a little bit of like blood up.
Yeah, but it pulls it up to the skin surface, and you're saying that this way they would actually like scrape it so blood would actually come out of the scrape.
Yeah. And then the cupping is like applying heat or suction to the cup created a vacuum which like really pulled the blood out. Yeah.
So it was like they scrape you, create that vacuum in the cup, and then it actually pulls it.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Leeches continued to be used as well, and we will again go into leeching a little bit more. I am connecting the two right here. This is kind of a form of bloodletting using leeching. It's just leeching becomes a little bit more sophisticated and leaves bloodletting behind.
Because we got smarter and we figured out that just letting your arm bleed was not good.
Or going to the barber and just being like, hey, let's just let out some blood today. I have a headache.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I got a bad headache. Can we just let out like a pint or two?
I think I had a fever last night, so let's just do it. Bloodletting did become less painful with the invention of the scarificator. I looked up these things, but my brain is just mush. Like, as you said phlegm to me, I was like, duh. My brain was like, what is that word right now?
Phlegm.
Yeah. So, the scarificator, it's the second one. A device featuring multiple blades that delivered a uniform set of parallel cuts.
Ooh, that sounds awful.
This method was used by Marie Antoinette after she passed out giving birth to her first child. And this happened in 1778 that Marie Antoinette had it. This is 14 years before they chopped her head off, which I just wanted to note that. So they saved her life by, yeah.
Anyway.
The English physician William Harvey is the first person to describe the detail of circulation and properties of blood, and he praised actually bloodletting as a useful remedy for most diseases. The American physician Benjamin Rush conjectured that all diseases are simply fever caused by overstimulation of the blood vessels and concluded that bloodletting was therefore the simplest remedy. So these are physicians that have accredited bloodletting.
They're like, yeah,
Let's go. Works. Yeah. This is the easiest. This is great. It's a useful remedy.
It's so catch-all.
Well, America's first president was not so fortunate. On December 13th, 1799, George Washington awoke with a sore throat and began to decline rapidly. So he had a sore throat.
And they were like, let's bloodlet.
Well, he asked to be bled until the next day. The physician drained an estimated of 5 to 7 pints in less than 16 hours.
So they literally just bled him to death.
Despite their best efforts, Washington died on December 14th, leading to speculation that excessive blood loss contributed to his demise. I'm not laughing at him dying. I'm laughing at, like, the concept of this. Just, like, it's speculation that it was excessive blood loss.
Why are you speculating that? He said, bleed me till tomorrow.
I'm pretty sure 5 to 7 pints in less than 16 hours is a definitive excessive blood loss.
I would think, because don't we only have like 8 pints of blood in our body? something like that.
Something like that.
Like, we don't have just like, blood is the most important part of our body, and yet, you know what? Just bleed me till tomorrow. It'll be fine.
My grandpa once lost 2 pints of blood in like a ladder injury, and it was like a huge ordeal. Like, that was way too much.
Yeah, you get woozy and weird.
Yeah. And you can actually, I didn't put it in here, but you can actually, like, they say have visions of things, but you're hallucinating.
Interesting. I mean, even when you go donate blood, you donate, 1 pint? And when you donate, you have to stay for 15 minutes to make sure you're okay.
And you still can get woozy, and you have to eat.
They make
sugar.
they make you eat like a couple cookies, sit down, have some water,
orange juice.
Then you can drive after 15 minutes. Yeah.
Is it a pint?
I think it's a pint.
Yeah. Maybe.
I want to say it's a pint. I don't know.
I think there might be. If that's a pint, then I think there might be a little bit more in the body. Let's look it up. Will you look that up and I'll continue this?
Sure.
Yeah. Beautiful. Helper. Bloodletting has also been implicated in the death of Charles II. He was bled from the arm and neck after suffering a seizure. And he died as well in 1685.
So they just kept bleeding people out.
Yeah. Sorry.
8 to 10 pints of blood in the body.
Okay. Yeah. So you said 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
And perfect. That is, and just to recap, George Washington was estimated to have drained 5 to 7 pints.
Yes, which was basically his whole blood supply, or
all of it. It was, if he has 10, it was half of or more.
Yeah, and then when we donate, it is 1 pint.
Okay, cool, nice.
And if you aren't a blood donor, do it.
It's very good.
It is good,
especially if you are a universal, like
O negative, and O negative is one of the.
O negative, and then I think that's the best. And then some of the ABs, I think it's AB positive is a good one.
O positive is one of the ones that are also kind of like 30% of the population.
I think like most people have O positive. I think that's the most common.
No, it's only 30%.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm like, what kind of blood do I have?
O positive can only receive O positive or O negative.
Got it. Do you know what kind of blood you have?
I'm O positive.
I think I'm also O positive, but I swear I just had a conversation with like 4 other people and we were all O positive.
Yeah, I don't know. Weird. Ross is O positive.
Are you sure it's not more than 30%?
I literally just read an email on my blood today. Like
I thought O positive was the most common.
No, they said O positive is like 30% of the population.
Well, I think that's me. Fun fact, Bob from Bob's Burgers.
Okay.
Has O negative blood, apparently.
Of course he would have O negative because that guy's weird.
Oh, I love Bob.
I like that show. Anyway, moving on.
How do I? English psychologist Marshall Hall denounced the practice in 1830.
Finally.
In his observations of bloodletting. In his book, Observations of Bloodletting.
Oh, okay.
It's not clear.
He was just making a speech, and he was like, I don't like bloodletting.
Yeah, this is bad.
Too much, too often.
The French doctor Pierre Charles Alexandre Louis, a pioneer of evidence-based medicine, studied hospital records from 77 patients who had been bled after suffering from pneumonia, and he concluded in findings first published in 1828 that bloodletting was not as effective as proponents claimed to be.
I love that they just did bloodletting off of theories. They were like, you know what? It makes people feel better.
Let's try it.
Because they feel funky.
Yeah.
It didn't cure your pneumonia. You just felt weird.
Some people, there's actually an emperor who commonly used bloodletting, just like small bits at a time, and it was like an often thing that they did. And there's more people out there that did that as well. I have cranberry juice and bubbly today. However, patients continued to be bled even after these findings, a standard practice well into the 19th century. As late as 1942, a new edition of a medical textbook originally written by Canadian physician William Osler identified bloodletting as a treatment for pneumonia.
In 1940?
1942.
They were still doing bloodletting in 1942?
This is in a new edition of a medical textbook. I'm just putting that in here. I think it was a lot less common even in 1942, but in a medical textbook written by William Osler, it still had it as treatment
as an option
for
for treatment. Okay.
Yeah. The extraction of large volumes of blood in extreme cases, much as 80% of the patient's blood, could lead to low blood pressure, difficulty breathing, loss of consciousness, and in some cases, death.
Loss of blood would cause low blood pressure? What do you mean?
So weird. How are those connected?
You have no blood
to... Yeah, there's no pressure behind it because there's nothing...
There's nothing there.
Bloodletting also carried a risk of infection from the implements used to create the incisions for bleeding.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean...
Wood? Sharpened wood?
In the 80s, wasn't there still an issue with, like, dirty needles sometimes being used?
Oh, I think sterilization has only, like, good sterilization hasn't been around that long.
Yeah, it hasn't been that long. Today, the word phlebotomy refers to the drawing of blood for use in diagnosis of transfusions in conventional medicine. Phlebotomy is arguably a form of bloodletting, and sometimes the words are considered like one and the same, like a synonym. But the modern day practice has nothing to do with the traditional purposes and techniques of bloodletting. So for anyone who does go in and they do a phlebotomy, it's not the same thing. They're just pulling some of your blood to kind of get an idea of what's happening.
Yeah.
And they're not pulling pints of your blood, contrary to what most people think when they have their baby. They're not pulling pints of the baby's blood to where they will kill him.
Are you speaking from experience or?
Yeah, I had him.
You were like, how much blood are you taking?
No, seriously, it looks absolutely insane.
Well, they come in with like 5 vials.
7 vials.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like 5 to 7. I don't know. I remember thinking it was like, Jesus, man.
And they
fill it.
I used to do phlebotomy, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like I actually knew that.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
It's cool. Except for when you miss. That's not fun. When you miss a vein. It's great when someone's like, nobody can get my vein. And you go, watch me. And then you do it. And they are very impressed. Especially when you're new.
I just told somebody that they couldn't get my vein. And they couldn't.
And you were like...
They actually pulled out an ultrasound machine.
Stop it.
To find my vein. And then they still missed it. She had to get somebody else. It wasn't the nurse's fault. It's me. It's not her.
I bet I bet I could get your vein. I'm not gonna try.
I'm not really wanting to test this out.
I'm not gonna try, obviously.
This seems just as accurate as bloodletting. Just
give me a sharp utensil. We'll be fine. I'll go in the back and I'll sharpen a stick. We'll be cool.
So funny. So the use of leeches meanwhile, has been experienced differently and has progressed instead of stopping like bloodletting. It is particularly used in the field of microsurgery. Leeching is an art dating back to ancient Egypt at its peak in the 18th and early 19th century. Leeches were used like we use aspirin nowadays. So like we said, for the headache. I do want to note, leeches were more for, in the early times where we're talking about bloodletting, leeches were like a refined version, so it was more expensive. It was a little bit...
The nobles would get leeching instead of bloodletting.
Yes. I mean, not all of them, as we know with Marie Antoinette, but yes. Leeching was, it was saved for specific people that had money, typically.
Less.
It did become more popular later, but when it first came, it was a refined version. Can you imagine, like, going to a spa?
No.
You know, when you, like, get your feet rubbed?
No.
Instead, they're, like, leeching.
Get the leeches. No.
Yeah. So, the quality of leech saliva was first noted by Haycraft in 1884, and the active ingredient isolated in it was noted in 1904 by Jacobi. In the 1800s, British physician Thomas Tanner even wrote that applying them to the anus could be used as a treatment for obesity. This was in the 1800s.
By applying it to your butthole, you can be skinny.
I mean, if you think about it, this is essentially the same thing as what is the section?
Liposuction?
Thank you.
No, but what is the quality of their saliva? Like, what is it?
Oh, it's just the quality of the saliva was noted, like how good it is. So the saliva, we'll get into it, actually has antibacterial, antifungal, and it also has like a numbing agency in it. So this, I just wanted to note that these two people together kind of, I believe, made leeching a little bit more popular, and we'll get into it. But Thomas Tanner wrote the anus you could apply, and I wonder if this is where the idea of liposuction came from.
But they don't liposuction from your butthole.
Well, I still just wonder. So Galen, this is as previously noted in the Bloodletting, the dominant medical voice in Rome, who discovered that blood was the most important part of the
humors.
He advocated leeching, the extraction of blood using leeches, as a method for healing patients was not so much bloodletting. So, like, he didn't believe the two concepts were the same. And he actually advocated for leeching over bloodletting. The species of leeches most commonly used for this purpose was the European medicinal leech.
Oh, that was its name?
It's the Hirudo medicinalis.
I'm better than all you other leeches. I have medicinal in my name.
Their blood-sucking capabilities once made it a valuable commercial item.
Their blood-sucking capabilities?
Yeah, the vampire of the leeches. The big change for leeching came when the introduction of things like germ theory and cellular pathology. The idea that disease is caused by metabolic imbalances, not bodily fluid imbalances, drew a new era in medicine. Leeches release a naturally occurring anesthetic into the skin when they bite, so you can't feel them. And their saliva has anticoagulant properties, which can help prevent blood clots and promote blood flow.
That would make sense if you're trying to suck blood out of something you just latched onto.
Right. So this is the saliva that was mentioned by the previous. Today, leeches are often used in major surgeries.
I was just going to ask, don't they still use leeches in some things today?
Let's go into Alan's story.
Alan? Alan?
Alan.
Ew. Wait, he had leeches?
Yeah.
Okay, so for everybody who doesn't know, which is basically all of you, Andra used to live with a guy named Alan. Very interesting guy. Apparently, leeches were involved in his life.
Yeah.
Please tell me.
So, I lived in a studio apartment above Alan's house, but part of the reason why I moved in is I moved home after terrible relationship relief happened. But I moved home and Alan had just cut his hand off. And I'm talking halfway down his hand.
It was a wood chopping or carving accident.
No.
No?
Jack thought the same thing because he has a wood shop.
Oh, no, it was a car accident.
Yeah, I think it's just because he has a wood shop in his garage.
It was a car accident, and then he was all bummed because he wasn't going to be able to work wood like he used to.
Yeah. So we have this bridge, and it's an Angels camp, and it's tiny. And Alan drove into the side of it, and he got his hand halfway cut off by the windshield. So the windshield broke off, sliced through his hand.
Okay.
I just want to note, it was not a medical professional that found his hand. It was like some guy on the side of the road that like grabbed his hand and was like, I found it.
I hate that.
Yeah, I know. He told me that and I was like, thank God it wasn't me. Because I would have been like, I think that's it.
You can leave it there.
Yeah, I might not even like, to be honest, I may not be the person you would ever want in this situation because I don't think I would handle it properly.
I'd probably be like,
not touch it, forget
I gotta go.
eyes. I'm just gonna trash. I'm gonna trash this.
I can't. I gotta go. I can't be here. I can't. That's a body part that's separated from the body.
So Alan went to UCSF, great medical hospital. That's where we had some stuff happen. Anyways, it's a pretty good hospital. They put Alan's hand back on. And during surgery, they used leeches to start blood coagulation.
They are getting the blood to coagulate into his hand?
Into the second part, the part that has already been severed.
To try and get blood flow started.
Stir blood flow back up. He had this done over and over and over again, where they would put leeches on his hand. This was also used in the process, from my understanding, to help grow his nerves back.
Really?
In case people don't know, your nerve endings can grow back even after your whole entire hand has been cut off. And it could take, for Alan, it took over a year.
Wait, after I moved, did he ever get use back in his hand?
It's actually worse. So Alan should have stuck with the original surgery.
Oh.
But he himself went back into surgery trying to get more mobility. And he actually, every time he went into surgery, ended up with less mobility. More. So he should have left it where it was. He talks about that too. Like, this isn't a secret. He does have mobility. It's just these last two fingers basically stay up straight a lot. This one particularly, so the ring finger basically has a scar all the way through it. And it's pretty, like, unusable. I misspoke. Alan doesn't have his pinky finger.
Yeah, he's missing that completely. I remember
the pinky finger is gone, but the ring finger has a scar all the way up it, so he can close his hand like that because the ring finger can't go down. So ignore my pinky and just imagine that's what. Yeah. So what's crazy though is he still does woodwork and all of that. He got mobility back.
Okay, that's good.
He told me the weirdest part was actually all of a sudden he felt like his hand was not there. he couldn't feel it, couldn't do anything. And then he started getting the nerve endings back about a year later. And he said that was the weirdest thing because for a while it still feels like you have a phantom hand.
Even though you can see it.
Mm-hmm. He said it was the hardest part of all of it. Other
That's
than
so
the fact
weird.
that he kept getting, I think he had a total of 4 surgeries on his hand.
Ugh. Physical therapy.
So leeches, as we said, are used for surgeries. They're also used in hydrotherapy to help heal skin grafts and restore blood circulation in blocked veins. Leeches are also used to prevent blood clots, reducing pain, and promote wound healing. So all of this was actually used in Alan's hand as well. But
what it sounds like.
So their saliva, as previously stated, contains a lot of great things, including substances such as anti-inflammatory agents, antibiotics, and pain relievers. This is all we have for today. But that is a little history of bloodletting and leeching.
Don't come at me with leeches. Thanks.
I will not.
That's my takeaway.
What's a takeaway? My takeaway is I am really glad to live in this modern medicine world, but I still think there's so much to learn. I also was so fascinated by the idea of leeching. Bloodletting scares the crap out of me.
That's
not
weird.
phlebotomy. Bloodletting scares the crap out of me.
What if you can't stop the bleeding?
There's things, like it says, to prevent blood clots. I want to know, like, what's stopping them from using this on, like, hearts and things like that for periods of time? Like, would that heal the possible prevention of blood clots in, like, the heart?
Why? Well, instead of using just leeches, is why not looking at, like, the actual chemical makeup of their saliva and trying to synthesize that?
Yeah. See, I think there's, like, a part of ancient medicine where modern medicine could kind of meet it in the middle. And then, yeah, I think there's some of it that could go a little bit more hand in hand. I almost feel like we have turned into modern medicine so far that it's, in my personal opinion, unhealthy. Like the way that we're treated as, like, common health issues when you go to the doctor instead of state-by-state case. Like, I think there is so much stuff that could be revamped and changed. And I think there's some ancient techniques that could be brought into it.
It's funny that you're saying that because I actually feel like we're starting to reach out back into like, if you eat this kind of like plant, like I think we're going back into a more naturopathy kind of way. And then also, learning from old ways, like some of them worked for a reason. And to figure that out, like instead of just giving everybody, medicine all the time, I think we're moving into
this.
Yeah, I feel like that they're moving into more of a balanced attack when it comes to healthcare, and I think they're trying more. And people will be like, well, back in the day it was this. But I don't want leeches on me unless that's absolutely necessary, and I feel like bloodletting, never. I mean, technically though, like when you do donate, like there is therapeutic blood donation, and that to me I guess would be more modern take on bloodletting.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like for me, I have to donate blood every so often because of the medication that I'm on. My blood will get thick, and so I have to go and donate so it will not be thick.
So interesting. So you do that instead of just taking like aspirin.
No, even if I took aspirin, it's still there's just
not good.
There's just more blood in me, so I have to get blood taken out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like your take on medicine going that way. I genuinely have to hope for that in our future. I also hope our food industry gets different as well, which I hope to cover one day.
I don't think that's going to change for a while.
I don't know.
Who knows what's going to go on, but well, thank you so
insider information that I'll maybe one day share. No, it's not insider. It's
the
article.
The World Health Organization has been emailing her personally.
Yeah, obviously. Because I am so important.
Thank you so much for sharing that today. Please make sure to like, comment, follow, share. We're, enjoy doing this, and we hope you do too. Until next time.
Ignore our coughs.
I know, I feel bad.
Yeah, ignore our coughs, but we did our best. Just know we're trying.
But we'll talk to you next time on That's Peculiar. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to That's Peculiar. If you enjoy listening to our show, please like, comment, follow, and share. If you have a peculiar story you would like to hear, please email us at perpetuallypeculiarpod@gmail.com.